Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to ATB Wealth Community Spotlight, where we dive into stories that make our community vibrant and shine a light on the people and organizations making a difference. I'm Rob Cupello. Today, I'm joined by Lucas Griffin. Lucas, thanks for joining me.
Oh, great to be here, Rob. Really appreciate the interview.
Yeah, no, look forward to it. So for those that don't know Lucas, he's the owner and president of Secure Rite Mobile Storage. I think, Lucas, we just talked before you come on. You've been on here a few times, so I had to dig deep to get some questions for today.
Shoot, hopefully you didn't go too
That's
deep.
right, that's right. Back in grade 8, Lucas,
Yeah,
I read
okay.
that. That's good. You ready for Christmas?
Yeah.
Are you? You didn't know you're shopping, too?
Well,
Oh, good for
I
you.
sort of did. I did my shopping 20 years ago when I found an amazing woman.
I
and
love it.
She takes care of almost everything else. So, yeah, I think we're ready.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Like most people, like me, I'm like, I got to shop this weekend. But anyway, so Lucas, I was interesting. I was getting ready for this. And I think we've kind of talked this before, but I always love the story of, you've come a long way since 2005. I think when you launched, and I'm curious, what's the story behind, like, how did it all come together? I'm always curious about the origin story. Like, you're sitting at the dinner table, I'm like, I'm going to start a mobile storage business. Like, how did that all come together?
Wow. That's a big question. We won't spend tons of time there, but there is a Life Fits Here origin story on YouTube for Secure Rite. So if you type in that, you'll get it. But in short, I love business.
Yeah.
And always kind of had that bent, mowed lawns as a kid, had clients, learned how to serve clients that way. I was going to go into dentistry at one point in time, but my parents were like, Lucas, man, you're good at business. Why don't you look at this? We're not going to tell you what to do, but check it out. Went into business school, graduated with my BBA from Okanagan University College back in the day.
Love it.
And just was waiting for the right idea at the right time. So worked for another local company and learned a lot about small business management. And from there, waiting for the right idea at the right time, storage came along, but more of like traditional self-storage, which is a millionaire's game.
Yeah.
And I come from nothing financially.
Yeah.
And so that soon we realized that was out of reach.
Yeah.
And then we started looking at other options. Somebody mentioned portable storage, and I started doing some research. And the more I dug, the better it looked.
Interesting.
And so we launched in March 2005.
And the rest is history, as they say.
I guess so, yeah.
It's interesting because I would assume, like, from 2005 to today, storage is, like, they've changed. The storage containers, they've changed, and you see them now used as restaurants. You see them now used as buildings, like, for people to live in. So I'm curious, like, is there a project that really stands out for you that you guys, and there's always the storage part, but is there a project that really stands out to you guys have worked on that really comes to the top of the list? You're like, okay, that was really cool that we got to do that.
Yeah. One is the TELUS Future Home. That was pretty cool. A really unique container where a 40-foot slides out of the side of a 53-foot. Traveled all over Western Canada when they were launching their fiber optics. So that was really cool. Another one that just really stands out is on Cypress Hill in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah.
There's a development there of tiny homes, and we built a show suite there, 16 by 40, that just turned out so mint. And then there is also a pizza kitchen called The Shed. And it's a 40-foot open side that opens up, revealing an entire pizza kitchen with a brick oven and everything. And then they've done a huge awning and patio. It just looks
Very
so
cool.
hot. So there's tons, but those two really come top of mind when you ask. Yeah.
I was actually meeting with a acquaintance yesterday. She used to work for us, moved on, and she was in Phoenix, and instead at the football stadium there, right on the end zone, they have containers that they've turned into these casitas, and you can rent them, watch the games right on at the end zone, and they're like, she showed me pictures, the coolest thing. It look that you walk in, it looks like a house. You can go on top and watch. You literally score a touchdown right in front of you.
Oh, like, man, Okanagan Sun. Let's
do
this.
that's right.
Or BC Lions. Come on,
love it.
So fun.
That's awesome. One thing I think that's really important, I know it's really important to you, Lucas. We've talked about this as community before. So like giving back to the community is a big part of what you guys do. I'm curious if you can speak a little bit how, you always stay connected to and make a difference locally. And I know a big thanks to you. I know you've stepped up and just helped us with Kelowna Santas.
Yeah, that was fun.
We've needed some storage and you are graciously donated some storage for us. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
But can you speak a little bit about community and how you guys are connected and why that's so important to you?
Yeah, so we love community, and we're convinced that if communities thrive, then businesses in those communities will thrive. Right. So it's this synergistic relationship where we want to give back to the communities that we have businesses in, but we also want communities to thrive because then the level for everyone rises.
For sure.
So we've really built community into our DNA. It's one of our 4 core values. It's at the top of the list for us, in fact. And so when we get a call from someone like Alexa on Monday morning, and she's like, "Hey, Lucas, turns out we need some boxes stored." There's almost no hesitation because it's part of our fabric. Like, yes, Kelowna Santas gives to needy families in the Okanagan. If we can support Kelowna Santas, we're supporting these families. Right. And if these families do better, likely in the long run, our business will do better. Right. So it's just this synergistic relationship. But we just want to help wherever we can. And we don't think too much or too long. How is this going to be good for our business? Right, it's just like, is this good for our community? Let's do it.
So is there a checklist you go through? Because you must get a lot of phone calls, like most businesses, right? You get a lot of phone calls for support, and I get it. Like nonprofits, they need support all the time. But is there a checklist you go through, or do you literally say yes to everything, right? Because I get it. You can only do so much as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And so one of the things, there's kind of a couple of ways I want to address that. Yeah. Number one, we look at our values. So we're very, very clear on our values. Right. And so when we're asked for a request, we go through our values really quickly. Yeah, does this initiative line up with our values? Right. And if it lines up, we'll do it. The other thing that really rises to the top, okay, community's there. We're being asked to help. Yeah. But excellence, it's one of our other core values. So everything we do, we want it to exude excellence. So if it's an event or an initiative, we want to make sure that it is going to convey excellence as well. Right. And so that's just one example of one of our values where we're taking a look. Does this line up? We want it to display, the excellence that we want to display at Secure Rite.
So what are some of I know there's probably a long list of community support that you guys do, but is there ones that really stand out for you? There's sort of, because, from a business owner I am too, there's things that are near and dear to you, right?
Yeah.
Like I love kids, so things that we can support and help kids. So and not that we don't support other areas, but there's parts of it. Is there some that really sort of like are close to you?
Yeah, I would say the one that we feel like we come back to over and over again in different ways is the food bank. So the Central Okanagan Food Bank, great organization, very well run, long-standing reputation, and just really helps families and individuals where the rubber meets the road. We all need food, right? Absolutely. So this year we did a Cram the Can event with Bell Media. Very cool. All of that food went to the Kelowna Food Bank. Or the Central Okanagan Food Bank now. We did, I don't know if you heard about it, but there was a heli ball drop earlier this year at the beginning of summer in West Kelowna. Okay, so that was fun. We sponsored that. That's super cool. One of the other neat things we did, I got a call from the CEO and he's like, Lucas, we're trying to educate people how they can get involved with the food bank, but also how they can not be continually dependent on the food bank. So there was an education component. So we actually sponsored that and donated a unit that was kind of the hub of their education initiative this year. So anyways, lots of our roads lead back to the food bank, but there's lots of other ones. You mentioned Kelowna Santas and just helping with families there. Best of Kelowna sponsorship, Kelowna Now in the interviews that we do. It's like, how can we educate and enrich our community? Yeah. Those are ways that we do that. Meet Me on Bernard. So anything that is like a community event, Meet Me on Bernard. We have kiosks there. So we just try to be everywhere where we can bless a wide
Yeah.
array of people with these initiatives.
Interesting.
There was more this year, but those ones come top of
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I love that you guys are so community focused, and it's so important. I know it's in your DNA. And another part of sort of what's in your DNA is you've talked about before. I want to make sure I get it right. Is prosperity for purpose.
Yeah.
So it's one of your core values in your leadership approach. Can you speak kind of what that means to you?
Yeah.
What does that mean, and how does it show up in the way that you run your business?
Awesome. Yeah, so this is something I picked up. Prosperity for purpose is something that I learned from Dave McLean, another local businessman that I used to work for just before launching Secure Rite. And it's just this idea of money is not the end all be all. So if there is financial success and as a company grows, whatever that prosperity looks like, it should serve a higher purpose than just lining the pockets of the owner. And so I saw Dave live that in his company, and I brought that to Secure Rite, and it is a game changer because one of the things I've learned is I've observed people around me, and then as you observe wealthy people around, you realize prosperity doesn't actually make you happy in and of itself. Money it can actually be quite a slave driver. It can be quite an unkind master. And so if that's the only reason you're pushing forward and pushing for success, it's a pretty empty reason. So, I also come to the table with a set of values where I believe life is about more than just money. And so when we run a company and we're pushing hard to be successful, I think money is a good measurement of success. But if that's where you stop, you've missed it. And so one of the things that I want to challenge businesses in Kelowna and BC and Western Canada is if you are successful, how can you give back? How can you turn that success into something more than just a big house and a fancy car and a chalet, a big white? Sure, do that if you can, but why not enrich the lives of the community you're in and the people in that community? And then there's a sense of, wow, this is for a higher purpose. This is more meaningful than just money.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I think you just hit the nail on the head at the end. Like it's the meaningfulness at the end of the day, that being able to support more than it's good. I mean, there's people that have wealth and they should enjoy their life.
Definitely.
They've worked hard for it, but there's others that if we can support. So I love that you talk about it. So it gets me thinking though, how do you balance? So you're trying to balance like the growth of the company and your personal well-being as well, right? And I know it's something that's important to you. So if you had to give advice to business owners, if someone's listening to that, how do you accomplish that? Like how do you make sure that you're balancing both sides of that coin for yourself? He's like, I don't.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I get asked that. I've done a few podcasts this year, and it's a question that comes up all the time. Like, busy growing company. I think I have 5 kids. I'm involved in my church community as well as just the broader community, and so balance is tough to achieve. And what I do is I'm always looking at my life. So I kind of have given myself 4 areas. They all start with F to help me remember them easily, but I've got my faith, family, friends, and finance. And I'm always just trying to find the right tension. I like to go hard every day. I started my day at 6 a.m. this morning. Some people I know started earlier, and I'm going to go hard all day, and it's going to be a little bit of all of that throughout the day. And so one of the things I've learned about business, and I just met with, let's just say I just met with a businessman, and he's kind of at the end of his life. He has a lot of health issues, and he's given 17 hours a day, 7 days a week to his business. And I sat with him, and he was at the verge of tears, and he's like, Lucas, I can't believe it's come down to this. And as I talk to people like that, I realize business will take all of your time. It will take everything you throw at it. It will eat it up, spit it out. It doesn't even know who you are. It doesn't even care about you. It is so cold. And so I've really limited. I go hard in business. I have a great team that I train to go hard, but I set very clear boundaries. For the most part, I give business 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then I just cap it there because it'll take 24 hours a day.
If you give it.
If you give it.
Yeah.
And so I really try to constrain the amount of time. Obviously, there's weekend events. Obviously, there's evening events. But I'm going to make up for those somewhere else. Right. And I'm not going to get too carried away because it'll take whatever I give it. So I've learned that. And I think that has helped me. The hungriest part of my balance is business. Yeah. And so if I really keep the reins on the business, right, and work smart, not just hard. Yeah. I think that's how I've achieved whatever balance I have achieved. I haven't figured it all out.
No, and then it's easier said than done, too, right? Because things happen through your day with work or whatever it may be as well. So it's sometimes hard to walk away and say, I'm done for the day, when you know that there's stuff to be taken care of as well, right?
And I think as a business owner, it is always in the back of your mind. My wife and I were chatting last night, and of course we're chatting a little bit of business stuff, but hopefully that helps some of our listeners.
I think that's great. I love that advice, and I love how you put it into there's those 4 pillars for you as well, which it makes it easier, because going through the day, if you can keep those in mind, it probably just makes it easier to kind of balance is a tough word too, right? Yeah. Because you do have to sleep, so you take away those 6 to 8 hours, and then so it doesn't leave. You don't really have 24 hours in a day to work within. So it's interesting. Actually, you're talking about you said something about how you find ways to be efficient with your time. Have you adopted any, and I know you have someone in your team that's very AI driven.
Yes.
So I've chatted with her a few times. I love those conversations. Yeah. But so have you adapted just day to day? Have you adapted technology or any of that AI or any of that sort of automation to help you make, maybe better decisions, or even get some of those mundane tasks off your plate? Have you been able to adapt into any of those?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I've done tons of it, but definitely we're a company that's forward-looking, future-looking, and as you mentioned, we've got somebody on staff who is very AI-focused, and so she's helping us add it to the day-to-day tasks. So now when we meet, some of those meetings have an automated transcript, an automated summary, stuff like that, where it's just soul-killing work anyways. Right. We have a weekly team meeting, a weekly management meeting to sit down and hammer out notes. Nobody loves that. And is that the best use of your time? Right. Probably not, except you do need to record, who's doing what. So that's where AI tools are so helpful, to take the stuff that is just brain dead work anyways, do it well, surprisingly well. That's where we're trying to implement AI, even with some new software that we implemented this year. There's a lot of automation within there, and so we're going to use that. So I think there is good ways to use AI, and I think there's a dark side to it that I'm 100%. Always very well aware of, and that we're trying to mitigate risk. Where's your data? Yeah. You feed data to AI, where's it going? We've learned a lot about that. We've really pushed ourselves to learn what data to give up, where. If you're paying for a subscription, usually you can say whether or not your data gets used. Yeah. If you're not paying, you're probably the product. Meaning your data is going somewhere, and it's probably even leaving Canada. And once it leaves Canada, there's some concerns that you need to be aware of. So we're approaching it eyes wide open. We're using it wherever we can to enhance our people's lives. One of the neat things we've done actually is just, not that this is new technology, but this is another good example of AI as a chatbot on our website. I
saw that actually.
But it's actually got AI behind the scenes, so it's actually extremely intelligent, and the information it's able to feed our clients is impressive, and we're getting very good response.
That's awesome. I love it. I happened to see that this morning. That's kind of cool. I love to see that as well. So I'm curious, in how do you keep your team motivated? Because I know there's when you're a business owner, obviously you have the drive, you're like, I'll put my 10, 12 hours a day. How do you keep your team motivated and engaged too? And we don't expect them to work 10 to 12 hours a day. It's not what I'm asking, but there's challenging times and so forth. But how do you keep them moving towards those, what's core to you when it comes to sort of your values from a Secure Rite point of view?
Man, I could get really nerdy on you here. But I will kind of share. I read the book Traction by Gino Wickman 4 years ago, maybe 5 now, and it talks about the entrepreneurial operating system. And so in 2020, when we decided we were going to scale, hire a GM, we wanted to implement Traction and this entrepreneurial operating system. One of the things it does is it helps you gain real clarity in your vision, your purpose for the organization, and it helped us define our values. So I've talked even today about being a values-driven organization. So we spent a lot of time just drilling down on our values. So community excellence, agility, cowboy grit. Now that those are defined, we have carefully hired people that have those values. So when we're interviewing people, we're actually talking about these values and saying, hey, do these excite you? Would these fire you up? Or would you find this kills your soul working for a company that embodies these values? So now you've got a team that shares the same values. They're envisioned by this core purpose. So for us, we bring people in portable space together in creative and meaningful ways. We are crystal clear on who we are, what we do, why we exist. And so we're able to keep coming back every team meeting. We talk about these values. We actually do shout outs to teammates for these values. We're really building it into our DNA. So when it comes to motivation, our team knows what they're there to do, the attitude and the values they're supposed to do it with. And I'm an enthusiastic guy. My GM is enthusiastic as well. And so we just talk about the challenges we're facing, what we're going to do to overcome them. We talk about what we're doing as a company, talk about the initiatives that we have going on for the new year. So is everybody perfectly motivated all the time? No. Even me, we're all human. 100%. But for the most part, people can get this sense that we're a company that's moving forward. And they're on board, they're aligned and excited about what we're doing.
Do you find that when you're that defined that it actually, if you hire the wrong person, because it happens, that they almost sort themselves out with the team because the team is so concrete they know what the pillars are, they know what the vision is, and you don't have to even you know what I mean? Almost a team sorts them out if it's the wrong person or coaches them to be part of where they need to go.
Yeah, that is the conversation. That clarity is so helpful. We've offboarded people with this clarity. And the team has helped us offboard people because of this clarity. So it is very powerful. Some of my peers are like, man, performance management is so hard and people issues. And I'm like, sure, we have them, but not to the same extent I hear my peers talk about because we are so clear on values. And then another big tool for performance management is job descriptions. Again, we're nerding out on the management side, but when you have this clarity, management isn't that difficult because it's either a coaching conversation to help people perform better or coach them towards the values that should be there. And then if the coaching isn't working, well, it's a different discussion.
Interesting. Yeah. Was it hard for you when you came up with your 4 values that you mentioned? If you kind of go back to that process when you did it, was it difficult getting there? And was that did you feel like you had to you didn't want to kind of put yourself in the middle of it all the time? You wanted, because I assume you worked with your team involved, whatever. Yeah. So did you have to find your I better not always give my opinion because I don't want it to be Lucas's 4 values. I want it to be company 4 values.
Good. Yeah. So what we did in that regard is we actually did a 1-day workshop with a third-party consultant. Okay. So that was a bit of a game changer there. Yeah. Worked off-site, 4 of us. So my GM, our marketing manager, one of our branch managers, kind of our longest standing branch manager, and myself. And it was a grind. We really ground through. It took us 1 day to come up with our core values and our tribal narrative, which is our life fits here tagline. Okay. An entire day plus a follow-up. Wow. And because we didn't want to get it wrong. No. We were 15 years old as a company at the time. So we also started with the premise of, we know what works and doesn't work. So these values already exist. We just need to uncover what they are.
Right, right.
And so we just ground through with the help of this third party, did a follow-up meeting. We really took it serious, and we're really glad that we did, because now we know this is who we are. We have no doubts.
Right.
Like, do these really work? No. We
Yeah.
went through the ringer to get here. And interesting about, was this a Lucas thing? With these, I really took a step back and let the others talk first. In fact, most of my team meetings and most of my strategic planning sessions on any given topic, I try to be the last to speak, because you get better results if the owner and president is the last to speak. I'm convinced of that anyway. So I always have an opinion right out of the gate. I know, but I want to hear what other people say, and then I can adapt and like, wow, that's good stuff. Or, hey guys, what do you think about this? Then I'll raise my idea, and then we can talk it through. I'm a big believer in the loudest voice in the room. Probably mine should be the last to speak.
Love it.
Yeah,
I think that's great. It's interesting, actually. Do you, as you look back since 2005 to today, and I'm sure there's lots of moments, but and maybe this is one of them. But what's been really rewarding for you from a business perspective? Like, are you is there a team member, or what you guys have done through the community, or is it all the above? Like, is there something that really stands out from that really is at the core for you? You're like, I'm so proud that we ended up doing that.
There's a lot of proud papa moments for sure. I would say the fact that in March we celebrate 20 years.
Oh yeah.
I'm really proud of that. I'm still standing. That song comes to mind, after 20 years. So I'm really thankful for that. But the other two things that are related would be the longevity of our team. So we have some players that have been there 17 years. We actually just had over 17 years. We just had a guy retire this summer after 17 years.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So those are proud moments for me, because that shows there's something there that makes people want to stay.
For sure.
And then some of those long-term employees, I'm thinking of a couple now. Well, there was three. One, he started as a CSR, and he's now our local branch manager. Another started 17 years ago as our one and only delivery driver. Now he runs all of our equipment, all of our drivers, our health and safety program. So that's impressive. And then another one, a CSR who started out 10 years ago just as that, really showing just a rise in leadership and, bleeding Secure Rite blue.
Yeah.
And so a year and a half, 2 years ago, we promoted her to be the team lead with the CSRs. And so they report to her, and she's in charge. She's our client services manager now. So like, these stories of people starting from the bottom and now being in positions of big responsibility, that shows that as an organization, we're lifting people up. Just back to where we started, lifting the community up, lifting people up. That's what we want to do. And I think that's where I have to give the credit to my general managers. When you're busy and you're leading a company and somebody's doing a good job, the easiest thing is to leave them where they're doing a good job. But both of my GMs have done such a good job over the last 4 to 5 years of raising the bar for our employees, seeing potential and bringing that and lifting that up.
Interesting.
That is one of my proudest moments.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. You mentioned sort of your values, community, agility, excellence, and cowboy grit.
Yes.
Do those 4 values come into your personal life as well? Do you see parts of that in the way that you live outside of work as well?
I think yes, because I'm a good Secure Rite employee. Then I must exhibit these values. And a little bit of tongue in cheek. I think they do, and I think as the leader of the company, you set the tone for the values of the company for sure. I'm involved largely in community through Secure Rite, but also outside of Secure Rite. So I mentioned my church community, and I've helped with youth over the years, and I do kids outreach work. So you see that there, agility, man, as a business owner, you have to be agile, and I see that everywhere in my life. Excellence, I'm crazy about a high bar. I've actually had to I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah, okay.
So I've kind of had to lower the
down
bar
a
for
bit,
myself.
okay.
It's like, Lucas, 90% is everybody else's
Right.
120%.
Right,
So
right.
just chillax, buddy. And I now see it in my oldest daughter, and she is like pushing for 12 out of 10 all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I've actually
what have
had
I created?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shoot. That's exactly how I was when I was 18. So I've had to lower the bar.
Yeah.
And then cowboy grit. Yeah. I mean, I just work hard
Right.
and just, I sometimes think, and I don't want this to sound wrong, but I'm like, I think if most people like followed me for 24 hours, they'd be tired. And if they followed me for a week, they'd be dead.
They'd be,
you know?
yeah.
Not
No,
literally,
I know.
but
Yeah.
run off their feet.
Yeah.
And so I think all of these values is how I live my life. And as a leader, I think you need to lead by example.
100%.
And so
100%.
I try to lead by example with all 4 values.
I love it. Love it. So looking ahead, any big plans in 2025 that you can share? Anything that's any new innovations, anything new from the business perspective that we want to talk about or share?
Wow. So there is a lot on the go. I'm really excited about 2025.
Cool.
Before I talk about Secure Rite, I think the Canadian economy is poised for a good year.
Yeah.
I've been predicting 2025 to be a good year for a few years now. I predicted a tough 24 and 23.
Right.
So
you got that right.
Unfortunately, I was right.
Yeah.
But I am the same guy that predicted that is predicting a pretty solid 2025 as the interest rates come down.
Right.
I think that's going to really boost the door-to-door home move, so the real estate market and the development market. I think we are sniffing a change in government, which I think will be good for business. The Trump effect, that'll bring some challenges, but in general, I think the North American economy will be doing better. Yeah. And as a result, the Canadian economy. So I'm very optimistic, very bullish on the 25 market. Hopefully I'm right. This is a time I really want to be right.
I'm hope too.
And so that's kind of the excitement in general for us as a company. We've got some goals that we're pushing towards. There's stuff I'd love to talk about, but
get you back.
Yeah, you'll have to get me back. But I think there's some acquisitions in the future for us, and I think. Just internally, we've really been working on our processes this last year. Our theme for 2024 was fine-tuning for performance. And we've really been doing that with a new software. And this is like our operational software. So this is like our rental and sales software. Okay, So, in the coming year, we're going to see this continue. It's already rolled out, but we're going to see automations take place. We're going to see online interaction with customers at a whole new level. So I'm just pumped about 25, both internally and externally.
No AI assisted robots?
Not yet. I was talking about that with a friend just yesterday. Apparently in 5 years, Tesla wants to have lights out factories, automated factories. So we're going to let Tesla work out all the bugs. I agree. Then they're going to release their robots to market in about 7 years. Maybe in 10 years, we'll have some robots running around Secure Rite. But I just love people, so there will always be people at Secure Rite. And I think any automation or robotics that we use will just enhance their life. I'm going to find the right balance with the help of a great team.
I think that I'm a big believer of human in the loop with all this automation. I'm a big believer in it. So who knows where it's going to take us in 10 to 20 years from now, but today we need to have the human in the loop, which is totally. For me important. So Lucas, always great talking to you. I always enjoy our discussions, and I think there's some really cool stuff, some tidbits you give business owners, and I know a big thank you for everything you guys do, with Kelowna Now, but for the community. I think that's one thing I think that's always been impressive, is that you really give back, and it's at the you don't do it because you want recognition. You do it because it's at the core of what you really truly believe in from a company and personal perspective. So
totally, that is true, and thanks for having me. I always love chatting with you. Thanks to Kelowna Now for all they're doing in our community. You guys really do so much. I think more than most people realize. And so really appreciate you guys and all you do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. For listeners, if you want to learn more, you can always go to the Secure Rite website. There's a chat bot now, but you can talk to a human. I know
Always.
you can always, and they're amazing. So you can always call and talk to a human. And again, big thank you to ATB Wealth for sponsoring the Community Spotlight, because we can't do it without them. So until next time, continue to support and celebrate local businesses and that make our community thrive. So thank you for tuning in. And Lucas, again, thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Have a good day, everyone.